15 Dumb Criminals. Hey guys, Culture here. Today we're going to look at 15 dumb criminals. More specifically, we'll discuss just how stupid they are. Seriously, you probably looked at the title of this video like, whoa, 15? Usually they do like 8 or 10, but 15? Trust me, we had to cut this list down to 15. Idiots who got themselves arrested, petty thieves with no exit strategy, and drugged up loonies who did more harm to themselves than others are all here. Let's gawk at the sheer stupidity of these 15 dumb criminals. Number 1. In the town of Silver Spring Shores in Florida, 5 young men were arrested for burglary after they broke into a local resident's house and stole 3 jars of cocaine. Except they weren't jars, they were urns. And they weren't filled with cocaine, they were filled with the ashes of the owner's father and her 2 dogs. Of course, the youths didn't find this out until after snorting a significant quantity of the ashes. They then realized their mistake and decided to dump the remains rather than return them, for fear that they had left their fingerprints on the urns. Though I can't name 2 of the suspects since they were juveniles, I can tell you that the other 3 had amazing names. Jose, Waldo, and Matrix. Seriously, Matrix. Amazing. Number 2. In Florida once again, we find a 20-year-old man by the name of Milton Hodges robbing a Lowe's home improvement store after shopping for banana and mango trees. His exit plan? To jump over the fence of the nearby Cypress Bay nudist resort and hijack a golf buggy. The authorities were able to easily locate Hodges as he was the only guy wearing clothes. This was hardly surprising activity from Hodges, who in the past had been arrested for attacking someone with a can of soft drink. I can only assume the cause of this assault was a heated debate over which was better, Coke or Pepsi. Number 3. Inmate James Washington was serving a 15-year sentence for an attempted second-degree murder charge when he suffered a series of seizures at the age of 50. The episode put him in hospital, and, fearing he was on his deathbed, Washington decided to clear the air about some of the wrongs he had committed. He confessed to prison guard James Tomlinson that he had murdered a woman named Joyce Goodner 17 years prior. Somewhat unfortunately for Washington though, he didn't die and was instead brought up on new charges for the murder of Goodner, landing him another life sentence in jail. I suppose that's one way to draw a confession out of someone. Number 4. Back to Florida for our next entry, Bithlo to be precise, in which 2 neighbors at a trailer park got into an argument that escalated very quickly. The offender, Craig Allen Aylesworth, threw an improvised Molotov cocktail at his neighbor's trailer, spreading flames haphazardly. The joke was on Aylesworth, however, as the wind shifted around and blew the flames back onto his property. His pickup truck, his travel trailer, and 2 of his cars were burnt by his own idiocy. God bless you, Florida. Number 5. In Maryland, local idiot Anthony Kenneth Mastrogiovanni decided to play make-believe and pretend to be a cop. He attempted to pull someone over by turning on his police lights in his white pickup truck, but had selected perhaps the worst possible vehicle. The driver was an off-duty police officer who was quick to suspect Mastrogiovanni, especially after he claimed to be a military officer from Louisiana. The off-duty cop pointed out that the red and blue emergency lights were illegal in Maryland, at which point Mastrogiovanni made a break for it. He was quickly picked up by local police, putting an end to his... Actually, I don't know what he was doing. I guess he was just randomly pulling people over. I swear, some of these people are just truly stupid. Number 6. This next woman from Central Texas has to be the most gullible person around. Chastity Eugenia Hobson was sent to prison on drug possession charges because she literally walked right into the police station and showed them that she had meth. What would make a person do such a thing? Well, the Granite Shoals Police Department had made a Facebook post warning that recent meth and heroin shipments may have been contaminated with Ebola. They suggested anyone in possession of these drugs come to the police station immediately to have their drugs screened. Hobson, obviously under the effect of drugs at the time, totally believed this story and rocked up with her rocks, thus handing herself in to police. I mean, come on. This is like on The Simpsons when the police did that boat giveaway to luring criminals. It was supposed to be a joke, but apparently it actually works. Number 7. Continuing with the theme of people basically turning themselves in, an 18-year-old man named Ruben Zarat decided to rob a muffler shop in Chicago for some quick cash. He threatened the cashier with a gun demanding money, but was told that the manager, the only person who knew how to open the safe, wasn't there. Zarat, being the genius that he is, decided it would be best to return once the manager was there, so he left his phone number with the cashier. Needless to say, he was picked up by police immediately upon returning to claim his goods. Number 8. Rounding off our trio of criminals that practically turned themselves in, we have Mac Yearwood, a Florida resident, hardly surprising at this point, who is suspected to be involved in a battery case. In addition, Ewart had 2 outstanding warrants, which to any logical person should mean that he'd want to stay under the radar. Instead, Ewart decided to use the Stewart Police Department's Wanted of the Week poster as his Facebook profile picture. The beautiful addendum to this story is that when police went to arrest Ewart, he was asleep at his brother's house. He asked officers to hand him his pants and, in doing so, a baggie of weed fell out. Ewart politely asked officers not to charge him for possession. Guess it can't hurt to ask, right? Number 9. Let's stop picking on America for a bit. There are plenty of idiots all over the world. Take Sweden, for example. A plumber whose name was not disclosed had been chatting with a 13-year-old girl online. After some back and forth, the pair decided to meet up, with the plumber putting 500 krona, or about $70 US, into the girl's bank account in advance. When the girl didn't show for their date, the plumber decided to obtain and call her home phone number. Now imagine doing this and the girl's dad picks up. What would a sensible person do? Well, it's irrelevant because this guy isn't sensible, as evidenced by him trying to purchase sexual services from a 13-year-old girl. The plumber asked the girl's dad to reimburse him the 500 krona because his daughter didn't show up. Of course, the plumber was soon arrested and denied knowing the girl was 13. But even if the girl was older, why would you ask her dad for the money back? Number 10. In Poland, the author of grisly pulp fiction novels called Christian Bala was quite famous for his graphic descriptions of murders. Of course, this ability to create such intricate details is far less impressive once you learn that one of his most renowned stories was based on a murder he actually committed. Bala killed businessman Dariusz Januszewski when he suspected him of sleeping with his ex-wife. I suppose it makes sense that a fiction writer would commit a crime of passion, but this murder was truly brutal. He stripped Januszewski naked, tortured him, bound his arms and hung him with a noose before dumping him in the Oder River. At the trial, expert witnesses reported that Bala was pathologically jealous, inclined towards sadism, and eager to show off his intelligence. Yeah, real smart, flaunting a crime in front of the world and thinking you wouldn't get caught. At least the other criminals on this list don't pretend to be smart. Number 11. A Swedish woman was arrested for drunk driving, recklessly endangering other cars on the road by swerving across multiple lanes. After a huge 3-kilometer chase by police, the woman was finally pulled over. On the breathalyzer, she blew .2. That's 10 times the legal limit in Sweden. Drunk driving is stupid enough to begin with, but the dumbest thing about this woman is that she thought she was doing nothing wrong because she had taken countermeasures to ensure her driving was safe. She argued that she was driving with one eye closed to stop her from seeing double. No joke. She actually said that. And this is in Sweden, where they actually have a good education system. I think we all just have to accept that no matter how good our schools are, there'll always be a couple people that slip through the cracks. Number 12. And now back to America, where we have a guy called Chad Spon, who was arrested for disorderly conduct. I have never heard a more dumb guy sounding name than Chad Spon, and luckily he lives up to the reputation. Spon's rage had been building up since he had a pending divorce, and all he needed was a trigger for his anger. That trigger came when his pet pig, Millie, ate all his marijuana. How good is that mental image? It's amazing. I laughed so hard when I first read this. Spon then downed a whole bottle of Everclear, called 911, and started threatening to cut himself with a butcher knife. That part is admittedly a less funny mental image. This guy's life sounds pretty awful. So much for living high on the hog. Okay. Number 13. We like to think of the police and criminals as two separate, opposing forces, but that's not always the case. Take Osman Iqbal, for example, a crooked cop who used his power to make vast sums of money. He ran brothels, laundered money, and dealt drugs on the side while still working full-time as a police officer in Birmingham in the UK. When you're leading such a dangerous double life, the last thing you'd want is for the other cops to find out what you're doing. As an example, you probably wouldn't want to roll up to the police station in a $260,000 Ferrari. Unless, of course, you're an idiot like Iqbal. This made his colleagues suspicious, alerting a counter-corruption unit that brought Iqbal in. After confessing to the above-mentioned crimes, Iqbal was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Number 14. A man in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, pulled a fire alarm, causing emergency services to rush to his apartment building. This was, however, a false alarm, as there was no real emergency. The man had just clogged his toilet with potatoes. Don't worry, that's not some kind of dirty euphemism. He actually clogged his toilet with potatoes. When the building maintenance didn't respond immediately, his next best thought was to pull the fire alarm, sending the building into a panic. The million-dollar question here is, why did he clog the toilet? We genuinely don't know. The police asked the man, but he had no comment on the matter. And I don't even know his name. Who's stalling this investigation? Number 15. In Costa Rica, we find one of the most brazen thieves I've ever laid eyes upon. A woman with a long skirt walks into an electronic goods store with her accomplice and proceeds to tuck a flat-screen TV between her legs. Her accomplice stands idly by, almost bored by the sight, whilst the woman covers up the TV. The whole process takes only 13 seconds from arrival to departure. The store staff said they were so surprised by how quick it was they didn't have time to react. You know what? It really makes you think. If people had flat-screen TVs between their legs, we'd all spend more time down there than we already do. This woman is like the risque version of a Teletubby. You know, I'd prefer there be no crime at all, but if you're gonna commit a crime, at least make it as hilariously dumb as these ones. See you all next week. If you enjoy what we do here at CultureCrash, please consider supporting the show via our Patreon, where we have a bunch of awesome rewards, or by checking out our online store. All links are in the description below.